I want to read something to you from Russia. This is only 1 month old. This is very good news. It says, Christian pastor Pavel Filipchuk was recently released from his 5-day prison sentence in the city of Orel in Russia. In August of 2014, Filipchuk was fined approximately 2 weeks' pay for reportedly conducting a public worship session without notifying city officials. When the pastor refused the fine, the amount was doubled, and he was eventually sentenced to go to prison. Do you think this would have happened to Filipchuk if he would have had relationships with somebody in the city administration of Orel? Probably not. And this is why we have this subject today, because it is so important that when we live in this world, that we keep relationships with pretty much everybody around us. So this is why the first, and if you want to go to your outline, the first section is the objective of relationships. Or why are relationships so important? You would say, oh, we don't need to know this. I'm not sure. I tend to disagree with that. And look at the points that I put there. Number 1, influence. Are you part of your societies where you live? Are you considered part of your society? That means that your voice has to be heard in society, doesn't it? How does your society shape? You allow everybody else to shape society and then in the end to walk over you. And that happens when we Christians believe that it is so nice to live in an ivory tower and live away from everybody else, because we're not from this world anymore. You see where I'm going with this? Does it ring a bell? And I'm not saying this to you to accuse you. I'm not saying this because I know you're making a mistake here. Let me tell you, I made the same mistake. It's not a sin, but it's a mistake. It is a mistake to think that we are completely separated from the world around us. And this is why, in many instances, we feel lonely. We complain about not being respected as ministers, as pastors, as business people, as people in public office, or wherever we are as Christians, wherever God put us. And we complain. Yeah, and we go and we ask people to pray for us, and we go to mentoring, and we go to all these places, whereas it would be so easy for us to just exert our influence, to make our voice heard. But if you want your voice to be heard, you need to go, you need to open your office door, and you need to step outside of that office. The world around you is beyond your office door. It is not in your office. And this is what I had to learn. I am a business person. I work in industry. I work in international business. I have to go on a plane. Even if I cannot sleep well or I cannot sleep enough, even if I need to live out of my suitcase, but I need to go outside of my office. People will not come to my office all the time, except if they need something from me, but I need to go. So that is one of the most important things. If you consider yourself part of the society in which you were born or in which God put you, then you have to raise your voice, and you cannot raise your voice in a room because the walls will not listen to you, and they will not respond to you, and they will not tell you anything. Except when you're called Nebuchadnezzar, then all of a sudden you will see some writing on the wall, but then it's too late. You also want to shape the thought process of your country. I hear this all the time. You know, we need to change the thought process, how things are done, how people think about stuff, how people think about us Christians. You know, sometimes the way they think about us is absolutely correct. because we are our worst enemies. We make really, sometimes, excuse my bad English here, but we make really ridiculous people out of ourselves because we don't go out and we don't interact with the people that we live with. Yeah? Any questions? Any insights? Are we clear on this? Okay. The next one is you want relationships for support. And you would say, yeah, of course. Now let's go back to relationship. A relationship is never a one-way street. If you think that a relationship is only made when you need something, you're not talking about a relationship. You are talking like a little child that goes to the mother or to the father and says, I want. A relationship is something that is deeper than a need. Yeah, but you need relationships for support. You want to do it for financial support. I think that is an issue, particularly in Eastern Europe, yeah, where you guys are always working, with extremely low budgets. But see, when you don't do relationships, you cannot expect for other people to help you out, because it is primarily your duty to go and make sure you get support from the people that are around you. And you need to convince them. You need to say, look, I am worth of your support. It may not be a lot of support, but remember, a lot of people giving a little or helping you a little will make a huge impact for whatever you do. It's the same in business, by the way. Yeah? If I need information, I go and get it. And I go and speak to the other people. And I get it. I don't wait for the people to come and give it to me, because the people may not even know that I need anything. They will say, this Scheiner guy, this crazy German guy, he sits in his office, he has a good time. After 5 o'clock, he drinks German champagne and is always happy. And then at 6 o'clock, he goes home. He doesn't need anything. He's just fine. You may want to be employed somewhere else. You may want to take the initiative and say, I'm not going to depend on 100% given to me by somebody else. I have studied. I know that you have studied political things, and I know that last year I encouraged you to go and work in Parliament. Now, I won't ask you if you did that, but you have studied something, and most of you probably have not studied theology. You studied something else. Go and see if you can contribute something to your society, and by the way, indirectly also to what else you do with students or with churches or something else, and you can take your own initiative. You know the joke about the guy that died in a flood? You know that joke? There is this guy, and the country was flooded, and he was on the top of his roof of his house, and the first boat comes by and says, come on, jump in the boat, we will rescue you. He says, no, God is going to rescue me. Second boat comes along, says, come on, jump in the boat, the water is getting higher and everything, we will rescue you. He says, no, God will rescue me. Third boat comes along. The water is already very, very close to this guy. The guy in the boat says, come on, I'll take you in the boat and we'll rescue you. He says, no, God is going to rescue me. Fourth boat comes along. This guy is already standing in the water up to his neck. Fourth boat comes along, says, come on, we'll get you into the boat and we will save you. He says, no, God is going to rescue me. The guy wakes up, is in heaven, is very upset, and goes to God and says, God, what is wrong with you? I asked you to save me, but you didn't do anything. So God looks at him and says, weren't 4 boats enough? And this is sometimes, how we do not see the opportunity that we have ourselves when it comes to building relationships in order to make sure that we take control of our own support. There is certain things God will not do for you. He will just open the doors, but the doors will only be open if you exit that office door. If you don't exit that office door, you will not see any open doors. So that is also important in relationships. And then finally, and this is the most important, we are here in this world as Christians to save people. That's like Jesus. Jesus came in this world not to make a new teaching or to establish a new law or anything. He came to save. And this is our role. We are his ambassadors to save people. Only through relationships will this really happen. This is how you will get entry into the public sphere. This is how you will get entry to key influencers in your individual society. This is how you will reach out to people and show them that you are salt and light exactly the way it's written in Matthew 5. That's the only way. And remember, Jesus said, you don't put the light under a cover. You just don't do that. So this is why relationships are important. Those are three of the reasons I could come up with. So really, what we need to learn is, the first thing is very, very difficult. We need to learn to love people. Yeah, that is not an easy task. It took me many, 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 many years to get to that point. And I had a mentor who every year when we sat down for my appraisal, he said, Christian, you are arrogant. And that just means, Christian, you don't love people. You just are full of yourself. And he did that for 8 years. And he always did it. We had an agreement. If he couldn't give me 2 examples, then I disregarded what he said. And he could, for 8 years, he could always give me at least 2 examples of how I was conducting myself. So that is one thing. And the second thing is we need to learn that relationships are a two-way street. The other thing that is also important in relationships is think about the emotional and the rational component of a relationship. Find out their heritage. See if you are from the same place. Chances are you're from the same place. Everybody asks me where I'm from, Romania. Yes, I'm from Romania. I don't live there, but just because I wear a t-shirt that says Romania, everybody thinks that I'm from Romania, and that's correct. So heritage, background, education. It might be you were in the same school. It might be you were at the same university, and you just do not know anymore. Or you may have the same interest. That is a great key to a good relationship. Because immediately you have something to talk about. You don't need to come and say, I need to have access to such and such person. I need your help. No, you say, wow, I didn't know that you were from that place. And do you know that person? And do you know that person? Do you remember my grandmother cooked, whatever? And, we were famous in the entire neighborhood. And your grandmother, she always yelled at us when we ran through the backyard. And, all those kinds of things. I think how you can also begin this is you can befriend them on those networks, on LinkedIn, for example, and then not just click on them and say, I would like to add you to my network, but say, I am from such and such place, or I have the same interests, or I saw you worked at such and such company, or I saw that you have a common contact with me. And then just raise their interest. The other one is go to their events. Find out when there is events where these people are, politically in particular. Politicians always have events of some sort. Just go there. Create an awareness of your existence. If they have a Twitter page, again, we're there, or a blog, go and write an opinion. Make sure it's a friendly one. Don't write them that their opinion stinks or something like that. Don't do that, but make them aware that you exist. And then, of course, you contact them and you go and you make contact in person with them if you have anything to discuss with them. Again, don't bother people if you have really nothing to talk to them about. You don't do relationships just because you need relationships, because you're lonely. Yeah, but you go and you have an intent. Unfortunately, this requires for you, when you look at those 5 days or 6 days or 7 days that you work, and you get all frustrated with the amount of work you do, that you sit down and you ask God to show you in which parts of your job you could use some help with some extra relationships. And then it becomes very, very intentional. Then it's almost like a plan for you to go and find that person and then make that person part of your network. Now you will say, and I know this is, you will say, okay, I'm just a Christian. What will I bring to the table? Introduce them to your network. Do you have a network? Is that a valuable network? You don't know. Yes, it is a very valuable network. Remember, just being at ELF, you are connected in so many directions. And somebody knows you at ELF. You don't even need to know all the big shots, but you know somebody. Yeah, we have now, it's an app. You can go and befriend people right away on that app, and you can connect through LinkedIn and everything. That is important. And maybe your contact has a need for something like that. They want to expand internationally. Well, you are connected internationally. They, need some moral support for a position that they have. They want to implement something in society. Yeah, you may have in your network somebody who can help them make a point, particularly if what they want to do makes sense. Yeah, and I think particularly in Eastern Europe, you have a great need for change, for implementing things, and they work just like you. They work in their ivory tower. The office door is always closed. In the morning they get in the evening they get out, and there is nothing beyond that. There will be phone calls, there will be emails, but there will be no relationships where you can really, put a strategy like that to work. And they have the same kind of needs. So make sure that you understand that you have something to bring to that relationship. It's not just the other way around, that you will benefit from something that they have. The next point is interest. Yeah, I told you, it's a two-way street. Begin to show interest for other people. That is so important. My father died last year, and for about half a year, my mother was grieving. She said, there is nobody, I have nobody. I have nobody. All the people around me are stupid and, stuff like that. I had to threaten her. I said, you keep this up, I'm not coming anymore. And then you're on your own, then you don't even have me anymore. She said, well, but when I go in society and I meet these older ladies, they only talk about the weather and what they purchased in the supermarket. I said, Mom, what are you doing? When I call you, you tell me how the weather is. And then you tell me what you didn't get in the supermarket or where you need to go or that nobody had a car to take you some. See, we care about these things, but when we talk to other people, this is of no interest to us. But this is how we need to do it. As men, we can always talk about football. We can always talk about projects that we do. As women, you can talk about children, you can talk about girlfriends, you can talk about your husbands. Don't speak too bad about them, but you can share these things. And you can share business-wise. You can share things. For example, if you have a funny employee, tell them you have a funny employee that comes every morning and then looks for the lipstick and cannot find it because that bag that they have is so full of everything and you really have to, empty the entire bag and the lipstick is still not there and then everything falls from the desk and then everything is a mess and, it is really interesting. Tell them the last thing your pet did. Yeah? Things like that. Tell them your point of view. Tell them what upset you. Yeah? I just take Ukraine because I think Ukraine has these three really funny politicians, one of them being German, the mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko. No, it's not Vitaly, it's the other one. Vladimir, exactly. He is funny. He is funny. You can laugh all day about this guy. I don't know how good a politician he is, but he is funny. He is funny. And then take, what is your prime minister? Yazenyuk, exactly. Now he is even funnier than Klitschko. Yeah, and then you have this man that is made out of chocolate. I wonder when he's going to melt. You know, so there is many things you can talk to people about and show interest and create this connection. It doesn't have to be mile high in heaven where you need to talk about why the Quran is not valid. That comes later. You know, later, perhaps in 5 years, you can talk to them about that. Okay? And finally, involvement. I put involvement on there. Share what you are doing. Never go there and immediately ask for help. That is my advice. I never go to people and say, okay, I just came to you really, really quickly. I need this, I need that, I need that. People don't like that. You come and you say, how are you? Wow, your office really looks nice. You know, look at this. When did you change this? How did you get this decoration? You know, your assistant is very nice, you know. Where did you find her? How long is she here, or he, or you know, whatever. And do these kinds of things. But also initially say what you're doing. Say whatever. Give them a little history of what you are doing. And say, I'm working over there across the street for 5 years now. It didn't even occur to me that you were here. And finally, you know, like, it fell on me. You are working right here. So I just came to say hello and see how you are and who you are and want to see your face and, you know, all these kinds of things. The good thing is, in Eastern Europe, this works. In Germany, that doesn't work. People will say, why is he coming to me? He's sucking up to me. He wants something from me. So they say, okay, tell me what you want and then leave. Yeah? I know in the southern countries, that's how it is. You don't just go and ask. You go and have a coffee. You go and have a prosecco or a cava, or in Greece you have an ouzo, you know, and you go and you sit with people. Sometimes you even have to eat with them first, and that lunch is going to be 3 or 4 hours. And then they say, okay, so why did you come to me? What do you want? And then you can say, I don't know, I really don't need anything. But when you ask, you know, I could use this and that and the other. Share your challenges with these people and determine how you can help each other. Not one-way street, but you know, for the other side also. Ask them to show you stuff. Yeah, what with politicians. Ask them how they run their office, or how they run their you know, whatever department they have, or what, you know, what they're doing. And they're very, very happy to tell you. Ask for advice and ask for help. Ask for help is always the last thing you want to do, because you want to build this relationship first on a personal level to create that comfort with the people that you're talking about. I think if you are really serious about building relationships, you have to change your vocabulary. Just use this conference to just observe or take a note how often people say I. Or how often people tell you they are a leader, or they are the CEO, or they are, I use the word CEO, so I apologize. I am a CEO, but it is not important. It doesn't change anything. But just make an observation. If you come to people you want to have a relationship, and you always talk about I, me, I, and myself, you are not building the bridge to the other person. when you always tell them how many things you lead and how many big things that you have done and all these kinds of things, you are not going to create a bridge. To the contrary, you are either going to cause them to tell you what bigger things that they have done, and then, I apologize for my bad English here, but then it is what we call in English a pissing contest. That's not a funny word. Yeah, but that's how it is. Everybody, or in psychology you call it escalation. Yeah, you just continue, and everybody has to lord it over the other person to show them how great they are. A relationship will never occur. Okay? So your vocabulary is extremely important. When you come in a humble position to somebody, the word I, me, myself, does not need to be part of your vocabulary. Not that you shouldn't be proud of what you have done, but you don't need to rub it in anybody else's face. And this is why, by the way, for 8 years in a row, my mentor told me that I was arrogant. And he was right. He was absolutely right. Because when we did a project, I cared about who was the project leader. Of course I was the project leader. But it was not me making the project a success. And I tell you, I think I had very few projects that were not a success. And this is why he counted on me, because he knew that the projects will be a success. But when the project was done, I was running around. look at me. You know, I'm the big guy. You know, look at me, what I can do. Nobody else can do that. He had to tell me through the arrogance that no, it was the group that I was leading. Yes, I was leading the group, but it was the group together, everybody, that made the success possible. And this is an attitude that we have to do. I think particularly among us Christians, none of us is better than the other. God put every one of us in a position. You know, if one day he tells me that I should clean the toilets in our church, I will clean the toilets in our church. And by the way, even a CEO or a leader is a leader in order to facilitate and help everybody underneath to do their job. They are not a leader to sit in the sunshine and have a good time. Yeah, and have the moonshine, yes, exactly. Okay, so that has to be clear. Yes, appreciation for the other person with everything. You don't come into somebody's office like this. You don't come into somebody's office marching in like General Putin. Yeah, or you know, those kinds of things. You don't do that. You come and you show your appreciation and you show that you are humble. Why can you do that? Because you come with a Lord that keeps your back, that is bigger than anything. You are not coming empty-handed, and you do not come without authority. But like Jesus did not come to be served, he came to serve, and that should be our attitude. And he rightly said, how does he begin his Sermon on the Mount? Blessed are the poor in spirit. What does that mean? I hold my hands and I have nothing in my hands. I have nothing to show. So it's no problem for us, because our reward is already in the bank account in heaven. We don't need to worry anymore. Our pension is safe. Our location is safe. When Jesus comes, we're going to get our passport to the new kingdom. We are citizens already, but we will get our official document, you know, and all those kinds of things.